According to reports coming out of the court for Diddy's trial, there's a wild card juror who's holding up the trial verdict. They're trying to deliberate right now, the jury, and they're trying to decide if Diddy is guilty or not guilty. But apparently there's some juror in there that people believe may be compromised, because this juror is giving the court problems, or giving the rest of the jury problems. Is juror number 25. Now, if you've been following this case and if you've been watching the reports, that they had another juror that was dismissed for lying about where he lived to the court. And because of that, he was dismissed from this jury early on in this case. And so it seems like now there's another juror problem. Now, the judge sent home some other jurors. So and those jurors that he sent home, they didn't have no issues. They were just alternate jurors. So let's go through really quick this information while the jury is out deliberating, and let's see what this is all about. So at the end of this trial, the lawyers gave their closing arguments, and the judge began to instruct the jury, right? Which is normal procedure. The prescriptive instructions are expected to take, were expected to take an hour. So the judge spent about an hour telling the jury what they need to think about, what they need to do, what's the next moves, right? So he then began to detail 8 alleged racketeering acts for the jury. Now, he defined the 8 underlying acts the jury can potentially find were committed by Sean Diddy Combs or a co-conspirator. To convict Diddy of racketeering conspiracy, the jury had to find that he agreed with at least one other member of his alleged enterprise to commit 2 qualifying crimes, okay? So, and the crimes have to be committed within 10 years of each other. So basically, the jury just had to say, hey, he had one person in his network, Diddy had one person in his network commit 2 crimes within a 10-year period of each other. If they find that that's the truth, he's guilty of racketeering, right? The indictment charged Combs with conspiring with co-conspirators to commit kidnapping, arson, bribery, forced labor, transportation to engage in prostitution, sex trafficking, witness tampering, and possession with intent to distribute controlled substances, right? Excuse me. And this is why when we hear all the different people come and testify, all the employees and different things like that, that's why it's significant. Because the jury only got to find that one of those people did 2 crimes, and Diddy goes away for racketeering conspiracy, right? So each juror on the panel got a copy of the complex and lengthy instructions during the deliberations, right? And so the racketeering conspiracy is the count 1 on the indictment. That's the count 1 charge. And the judge is going to instruct the jury on counts 2 through 5, right? So he went through those. The judge started instructing the jury on the trafficking counts. And the 2 counts in the indictment charged Diddy with sex trafficking by force, threats of force, fraud, or coercion. Or, not and, or coercion. So if he did it, if he trafficked women or trafficked anybody, men or women, by force or by threats of force or by fraud or by coercion, he's guilty, right? That's what they got to find. And this is kind of what the judge is instructing the jurors on. Then it says that the judge then instructed the jury on the 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Now that's count 3, right? And in that, Diddy was accused of transporting Cassie Ventura and other commercial prostitutes across state lines from 2009 to 2018. And count 5 alleges that he transported Jane, the Jane Doe, and other prostitutes from 2021 to 2024. So the judge made the jury aware of that. If he's guilty, if they find that he's guilty of that, I think that's a straightforward charge, right? Then that's another thing that he's facing. So then the jury had to choose a 4-person. Basically, this is the person that's going to read the jury find the defendant guilty, not guilty, right? So they chose a 4-person. And the judge then began to excuse the alternate jurors, right? And said that they don't need to come to court while the main panel deliberates. But he did warn them, and there's 5 of them, there's 5 alternate jurors, that they must remain reachable in case they are called to join the main panel. He also reminded them to continue following the court's rules about avoiding media coverage and discussing the case. He then thanked the alternate jurors for their service and said his deputy would provide them with his personal contact information so they could reach out for anything, including a courthouse tour. He said, "It's the very least I can do for you for your immense service in this case." That's what the judge said to the alternate jurors. So now, if one juror is compromised, like they're saying, and we're about to get to that, there's still 5 alternates. So let everybody don't get crazy like, oh, well, that's all it takes. Nah, there's 5 alternates. If they dismiss that juror, they could bring in 5 other people to sit in this place. So it says the jury has the option to choose to stay late to deliberate, right? So they began to deliberate, and then the judge, pretty much praised the prosecutors and the defense attorneys for a good tried case. He said the case was really exceptionally tried by both sides in this case. And he said, he said that he appreciated both sides' cooperation during the trial. Cool. Now, Diddy requested to have books in his holding cell. The judge granted it. This is what's been going on. They elected the juror number 5 as the foreperson. Diddy's family is there. They were holding hands, bowing heads, left the courtroom, right? And then the jury, as everything was going on, as they're deliberating, the jury sends in a note to the judge. And then the note from the note that they sent in was first handed to the prosecution. Then it was handed to Diddy's lawyers. And then Combs came back in the courtroom and reading the note. And they said that the note was like 1/3 of a piece of paper. So it was a pretty significant paragraph that was written. And in the note, the jury said that they were concerned one juror couldn't follow instructions. So the note read, quote, "We have a juror number 25 who we are concerned cannot follow your honor's instructions." The foreperson asked to speak with the judge or that juror be interviewed. The judge directed the parties to confer until a later time. So the judge said, "Hey, this lawyer, Diddy's lawyers, the prosecution confer with each other. Let's figure out how we're going to deal with this." Now, the jury sent the note, or excuse me. As the jury sent the note, they said it was a wild card juror. It was reported as a wild card juror and it's significant. And a legal expert broke this down. Said shortly after the jury began deliberations, the foreperson sent a note expressing number 25 couldn't follow your honor's instructions. Cool. They said that this is a significant development in the case because the concern is being raised so early in deliberations. There's a wild card on this jury, quote, this is what the legal expert says. There's a wild card on this jury, and that is significant. It happened incredibly quickly. There's a lot of give and take, back and forth. Deliberations can get incredibly heated, and that's part of the process. For the jurors to say that one juror is not going to follow the judge's instructions, that is quite notable, especially at this early stage of the process. And then it's really up to the judge to decide, all right, I don't know if this juror could continue to deliberate, but they've already started, so there's already good grounds for any type of appeal by the defense should there be a conviction. So that's tough. So that is significant. If Diddy is convicted and found guilty and they remove this juror and put an alternate in, then Diddy it opens the door for an appeal, which the door has been closed for an appeal previously because the judge told Diddy directly that he was not going to be able to appeal if he waived his right to certain things, and Diddy waived his rights. But this situation, the legal expert says it's possible. It's a possible massive headache at this early stage of the game. So who is juror number 25? Juror number 25 is a 51-year-old male who works as a scientist and lives in Manhattan with his domestic partner. So we'll see what's going on with him. But the judge sent the note and replied to the jury. And in the note, this is exactly what the judge said. He said, "I received your note. I reminded every juror of their duty to deliberate and their obligation to follow my instruction on the law. With that in mind, please continue deliberating." So maybe there's somebody that, just wanted to get out of there. I don't know. We don't know what the situation is. It could be anything. It could be anything. But it is interesting to figure out or try to understand what's going on in there, because obviously it only takes one person for Diddy to walk up out of there. They have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt to 12 people. So the burden is on the prosecution to prove everything. So one person in there that's not playing by the rules, that's something to note. So we'll be paying attention and keep watching and see how this plays out. But man, this is a significant situation.